They say you never know a person until you've seen how they treat those they believe can't fight back. This was never more obvious to me than the day a complete stranger decided that she had the power to fire me from my own company. My name is Liam Carter. I own a landscaping and garden center called Greenscape Gardens. After nearly a decade of sweat, dirt, and dedication, my business had blossomed into the go-to spot for beautiful greenery, landscape design, and premium garden services in Ridgewood County. The business was my pride and joy, a sanctuary of flowers, shrubs, and tranquility. But everything changed when she arrived. Her name was Margaret Hollister. Elegant, early 50s, perfectly coiffed blonde hair, wearing clothes expensive enough to make you afraid to touch them. Margaret walked with authority, like she owned every square foot of ground beneath her feet. I first encountered her on a Tuesday morning, casually inspecting plants near our outdoor nursery. She approached one of my young employees, Jenna, a shy teenager on her first summer job. "You," Margaret snapped. "Why aren't you attending me? I've been waiting nearly a minute." "Sorry, ma'am," Jenna replied nervously. "I'll get the owner." Margaret scoffed, cutting her off. "I don't need the owner. Just find someone who knows their job." That someone was apparently me. "Is there something I can help you with?" I asked politely, approaching with a friendly smile. She barely looked at me. "This hydrangea," she said, pointing at a perfectly healthy shrub. "It's unacceptable. Too bushy. I need you to trim it right now." I glanced at it. "Ma'am, these are nursery plants. They're intentionally kept lush and healthy for sale." "Do you know who I am?" she interrupted, eyes narrowing behind designer sunglasses. "I'm Margaret Hollister. I could get your job terminated with one phone call." I bit my tongue. "Ma'am, there's no need. You'll regret speaking to me this way," she hissed, already dialing on her phone. "I'm calling the police." Before I could say another word, Margaret had dramatically begun speaking into her phone, demanding police presence at my business. She accused me of harassment and illegal operation, neither remotely true. Within minutes, 2 police cars rolled into our parking lot. Margaret met the officers dramatically, pointing at me with exaggerated distress. He threatened me and refused service. I demand he be fired and escorted from this property immediately. The officer looked at me with confusion. "Sir, do you work here?" "Yes, officer," I replied calmly. "I'm Liam Carter, owner and manager of Greenscape Gardens." Margaret's smug expression slipped. She stared at me in disbelief. "Owner? Impossible. Look at him." I was dressed casually in jeans, work boots, and a plain t-shirt, exactly as a landscaping professional often dresses. The officer, unbothered by my appearance, calmly asked Margaret, "Ma'am, can you clarify your complaint? It appears this man has every right to be here." Margaret became flustered. "This man is obviously lying. He harassed me." "Officer, we have surveillance," I explained gently. "You're welcome to see exactly what happened." We stepped into my office to review security footage. Margaret watched silently, arms crossed defensively. The footage showed clearly I was respectful, calm, and had done nothing wrong. "Seems pretty clear-cut," the officer remarked. "Sir, sorry about the trouble." Margaret visibly trembled with fury. "This is ridiculous. He should be disciplined." "Ma'am," the officer replied firmly, "I suggest you leave now before you escalate things further." She stormed out, but not without one final, icy glare. "You'll regret humiliating me, Liam Carter." I hope that was the end of it. I was wrong. Margaret, unable to admit defeat, took things further. Days later, I started getting strange complaints at my business. Health inspections, noise citations, even false claims of illegal waste disposal. Every time, officials arrived to find nothing wrong. It became clear Margaret was behind each accusation. I was being targeted. And frankly, I'd had enough. I did some digging. Turns out, Margaret Hollister was deeply involved in local HOA boards and had previously bullied local businesses into submission to suit her whims. Her power came not from any official position, but from her husband's significant local influence. But power built on intimidation can collapse quickly if challenged wisely. So I reached out to friends, allies, and customers she'd harassed. Soon, dozens of stories surfaced. Petty fines, threats, lawsuits, all traceable to Margaret. And as I prepared my evidence, an unexpected opportunity came knocking. Margaret returned to my garden center weeks later, demanding service again. This time I was ready. She approached with a haughty sneer. "Thought you could withstand my pressure, did you?" "I did," I replied calmly. "And I also did a little research." She froze. "Research? Public records? Lawsuits? Harassment cases? Seems you've built quite a history of bullying local businesses." She paled. That's none of your business. It became my business the moment you targeted my livelihood." I showed her copies of the documented complaints and pending lawsuits from other businesses, all carefully organized. Margaret's hands trembled slightly. "You think you can threaten me with this?" "No threats. Just facts. Stop your harassment now, or I'll share this with every local media outlet." She glared, then forced a hollow smile. "Fine. Consider it stopped." She left abruptly, clearly shaken. Margaret's attacks ceased immediately. The absurd complaints stopped. Life returned to normal, and my business continued thriving. Months later, Margaret resigned from multiple HOA boards. Her husband publicly distanced himself, embarrassed by the exposure. Her power, built on intimidation, crumbled beneath transparency and truth. Greenscape Gardens flourished even more after local papers praised our handling of the incident. Customers, impressed by our professionalism, poured in, and the community rallied behind us. But most importantly, I learned that standing up for yourself doesn't always require aggression or retaliation. Sometimes truth and quiet strength can dismantle even the loudest bully. Margaret taught me a valuable lesson. Though unintentionally, true strength comes not from intimidation, but from integrity and community support. Hello, this is the Mirror Moves. If you enjoyed this story of justice and community strength, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Mirror Moves, where every Karen meets her karma. We has new episodes every week. Have you ever dealt with a bully neighbor or customer? Drop your story in the comments. We might feature your experience next.